Hi, welcome to Coffee with the Mayor. I am Teresa Aronson from the St. Lucie County Chamber of Commerce. A couple corrections today. It was Coffee with the Mayor, then it was Coffee with the Vice Mayor, and now it's Coffee with the Mayor-elect. But today, shortly, we're actually going to be having coffee with City Manager Russ Blackburn. I'm looking forward to it. Been trying to get him on the show for quite some time, and Mayor-elect Martin is unable to be with us today, so we're going to visit with Russ Blackburn. But we're going to start, as we always do, with our sponsor. And I am also very excited because this is a person I haven't seen for a while. You've been sending Maylin, and we love her, and it's very nice to have her. But back for the first time in a very long time, please welcome Srita Walker from Mid-Florida Credit Union.
Thank you. Good morning. Glad to see you all again.
So, Srita, we were talking before we got on the show, and I know that you've been extremely busy, but your title is regional
VP Area Manager, Treasure Coast.
Yes. And we were talking about how hard it is in banking right now and help. And
Yes.
you have been regional VP of banking and teller 2
Yes.
on US 1
Yes, ma'am.
for about several months now.
Yes.
Yeah. So you haven't been able to join us. You've been doing double, triple, quadruple duty in the banking industry.
Yes, it's been fun. You know, I have to keep my skills up. I gotta tell my people.
How long has it been since you had to roll a thing of coins and?
Well, I've been doing it a lot lately, as you said.
Yes. Well, welcome back. And we always talk about Mid-Florida in its contribution to our community. We have the Mid-Florida Event Center. We have Mid-Florida Coffee with the Mayor. You guys have been the sponsor here for, I think, 4 years now.
Mm-hmm.
We appreciate that. And then you also bring in nonprofits that you also sponsor. Last month, I think we had Tom Jones from the Education
Yes.
Foundation. We've had the Treasure Coast Business Summit in before.
Yes.
Because you're big partners with them. Well, we have an event coming up I know it's in January, but we're going to start talking about it now. And
Drum it up.
You've been on board as our major sponsor of that one for several years too. That is the Business and Industry Awards of St. Lucie County.
Yes.
I am excited. We typically gather in a small group of about 400 people, which we've decided we probably cannot get away with this year. And we are splitting it up to sort of a watch party throughout the county.
I know. I'm excited. You gonna tell us about it?
Yeah, I'm hoping you'll pick which one you want to go to, too, because I'm going to have you co-host one of the parties. So we're going to have different levels of sponsorship, different levels get different choices of where they want to view. I think we're going to work with Jimmy Freitas at his 500 Orange location. Hop Life, Sailfish are both on board. We're going to have some north locations, some south locations, some with dinner, some without dinner, some with a gift box.
Okay.
All courtesy of Mid-Florida. And the really great thing is everybody that accepts an award this year will have a moment to be zoomed in to the watch party and make a 30-second speech. And even as I say that, I'm getting nervous.
That's right, because typically we don't have the winners speak because of time.
You're right. So typically, because it's 400 people in a room, it takes an hour to get them, settled down with dinner. And then there's a lot of introductions and things like that. And we try to scurry them up and scurry them off and get out of there before, midnight.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't know how that's going to go this year, but we'll see.
Yeah, well, I think that they will be excited to be able to do that. So,
yeah. Mm-hmm. All right. Well, thank you for that sponsorship anyway. I appreciate it.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
And we're going to have a big Mid-Florida Credit Union banner right behind every single winner at every single watch party to make sure you get credit. I appreciate it.
Love the advertisement.
So what's going on at Mid-Florida Credit Union these days?
Well, lots going on. Right now, we have very, very good rates on our car loans. Really good, as low as 1.85.
Oh, wow.
Yes, new cars, used cars, refinances, of course, depending on your credit. But that is a phenomenal rate. And so I'm very excited that we're able to do that, kind of help save people some money,
Typically, when you go to a car dealership, they shop it at their lenders. and they say, we can give you this much off, or we could give you this low interest rate or zero, but you end up paying, one way or the other. But this is a straight 1.85, and you go in pre-approved, and then you ask them the price. That's the other thing. Yes,
I saw your show.
Oh, you watched another show where I gave my car sales PSA? Unless you go to one of our members who are definitely not going to do this. But sometimes they ask you what you want your payment to be, and they check your credit, and then they tell you how much the car is.
Right, because really with consumers, that's really the most important thing to them. Does it fit into their monthly budget? So I think that's why they do it that way.
I know, but I always am leery because they're like, oh. Well,
right.
Yeah.
Whatever car you want.
If they come back and say, it's exactly $500,
They make it happen.
Yeah,
So rates are really good. We also have a 2.5% cash back Visa signature card. So that's really good as well. No revolving categories, no annual fee. So that's another popular product that we're having right now. And a lot of our members, we get them guaranteed approval. So we don't have to worry about checking their credit. Okay. And they just sign. They can leave with a card because we do print them at the branch. So very convenient.
Nice. Did you give away the car?
Oh, we did.
So I clearly did not win it.
No. I would have called you personally.
I would have liked that. It was a muscle car, if I'm not mistaken.
It was a Charger, Daytona, Hemi. Yeah, it was very nice. I got to drive it from Lake Wales.
Oh, who won it? Anybody in St. Lucie? No. Bummer.
I know.
I haven't seen it. I think it was bright orange or something.
Yes, it was. You remember correctly.
Well, I really wanted it.
Well, maybe we'll have another one. We normally do a car giveaway every year, so we'll see.
Oh, cool. Interest rate on home loans and refinance? My parents just
low
did that with
also.
You. Yeah.
Across the country.
All right. And again, in order to be a member of Mid-Florida Credit Union, people, in the old days, you had to work for a certain business or,
Right.
What is it today?
Live, work, worship, or go to school in the counties we serve. And right now we serve 55 counties across Florida.
That's 55 of 65, so.
Almost all. So we're working on it. We've already changed our tagline. So we're now Florida's Community Credit Union because that is the plan.
Oh, very nice. So not mid-Florida, you're all of Florida.
Right. We started off in the middle of the state, right? So mid-Florida, but we are mid-Florida, Florida's Community Credit Union.
Love it.
Yes, thank you.
Well, thank you for being with us. It was nice to see you.
You too. I know. I missed you all.
And I appreciate your sponsorship. I really, really do. For this and the BNI, we couldn't do it without you.
Thank you, Teresa.
All right. We'll be right back with City Manager Russ Blackburn. Welcome back to Coffee with the Vice Mayor, Interim Mayor, now City Manager. We ran through that before the break. Of course, I'm here with City Manager Russ Blackburn. This is the very first time you've ever done this show with me. Yes. I'm very excited about it. I've wanted this for a while. I don't think the public generally gets to spend a lot of time with you. Probably purposely for you, but it's nice to check in with city management. So I wanted to start with if you could tell us kind of how the charter works here and what the role is of the city manager.
Oh, thanks, Teresa. It's a great question, and surprisingly, a lot of people who are involved in our government as active citizens don't really understand that. So I appreciate the question. So your mayor and city council are elected, citywide by the voters. They appoint two employees, me and the city attorney. So under our charter, the city manager is responsible for hiring and firing department directors, making sure that staff is achieving the objectives of the council. So the council doesn't get involved in the direct operation of our government. And our form of government is called a council manager form of government. It's actually the predominant form of government in the nation. And so the idea is the folks who are elected are closest to the people. They get feedback on a regular basis, but there may not always be professional administrators, folks who know operational efficiencies and issues, and they hire the city manager, who's then in turn hiring the staff to get things done to make sure we deliver services effectively and efficiently.
So that is such a huge distinction, because I know when the mayor and I did the show together, former Mayor Greg Orvek, people thought he was the head cheese in charge, and if he say so, it could be done. But the reality is he's one of 5 votes on a council that then sort of directs you to get these things done. And in that charter form, council, city manager, they don't have direct authority over staff, correct?
Yeah, that's absolutely correct. So my direction comes from a majority of city council. So we have a mayor that's the figurehead for the city, that chairs the council, to help them get their job done. But the actual direction to staff of what policies will the city be implementing, it takes 3 members. So we have a 5-member council. So a majority of council makes those decisions. Over my career, there have been times when people would say, I bet you disagree with that. It doesn't matter. My job is to follow the direction of 3 members. Now, I'm always trying my best to give them information, so we give more than 3 members so that people, have information to make good decisions and sound decisions. But ultimately, if 3 of them vote and say, staff, this is what we're going to do from a policy perspective, then that's what I implement with staff.
Yeah, unanimous is always best, isn't it? Because when you implement it, 2 of them are probably mad about it if it's a 3-2 vote. Yeah.
It's better, but the truth is, having been in local government a long time, is you don't always want everybody thinking the same way. Sometimes you really benefit from hearing that contrarian idea.
I agree.
You pull a little something from that idea, and you make the idea that maybe a majority supports a little bit better.
I couldn't agree with you more. That's how I feel about my board, my executive committee. My executive committee, I think, is one of the toughest in town. But I need to feel confident in what decisions we're making were well thought out. So yeah, it is nice to have that contrarian viewpoint, for sure. We got a lot going on in the city, and I know we talked a little yesterday about what we wanted to talk about, so I do want to get into that because I think there's a couple of them that are incredibly important for viewers, citizens to know about coming up. So let's dive in. You want to talk about the referendum first?
I would love to. That's a great starting topic. So if you've been around, driven on our streets, looked at what's happening in the city, it's hard to not sense that the city is really doing a lot of things. And, one of the big, changes in Port St. Lucie from our inception in 1961 is that we're now growing a job base. For years, one of the highest priorities, that we received in feedback from surveys, that we heard at council meetings, that just talking to people, is there's no good jobs in Port St. Lucie. Great place to live, great place to raise kids, great place to have a family, but there's no good jobs here. Well, we're changing that paradigm right now. And we're doing that, the Southern Grove Jobs Corridor, the Midway Industrial Park, the St. Lucie West Industrial Park, all of these are really on fire and attracting new employers, creating new jobs. So one of the tools that we have been given by the state of Florida to use is a tax abatement. It's a time-limited incentive to reduce the property tax for the city that is charged to that developer that would build and open a new industry, a distribution center, a research facility,
Manufacturing.
a manufacturer in Port St. Lucie.
Yeah.
They have to make a large capital investment. It's in the statute. And they have to hire 25 or more employees making more than the average wage. So that tool has to be authorized by the voters. They have to vote at a referendum to allow the city council to use that tool. So we're going to be holding a referendum on December 7th, 2021, the same day that folks are voting on the district
3.
council members for District 3, to ask our voters again, because it's worked so well in the last 10 years, to allow us to extend and to do another 10-year timeline of the referendum. So it's incredibly important. So if you drive down I-95, the Southern Grove area and Tradition, you'll see City Electric.
TAMCO. I think they see it as TAMCO because it lights up like the 4th of July
Yes, it
as
does,
TAMCO.
yes. TAMCO, AKA City Electric.
There you go.
And so we competed for TAMCO.
Yes.
So we competed all over the nation. That company looked at a number of different areas to locate. And they narrowed it down to 3 locations: Port St. Lucie, Charlotte, North Carolina, big city of 800,000 people or so, and Dallas, Texas, where, by the way, they are actually headquartered. That company's
They were already there. Yeah.
right. So we competed. They used a site selector, and the site selectors do these things kind of methodically. They have a long spreadsheet that has all these different issues that they look for in the communities where they're considering locating. And one of those line items in that site selector's review is, are there any incentives? What is the tax structure of your city? What's the labor force? So we know we have sunshine. We know we welcome, industry.
The beach. Yeah.
But bottom line, they're looking for, this whole package. And one of the key things is, what's your tax structure? How are we going to get started in our business? We competed and we won, which is very important. And we see the result of that. And one of the factors that TAMCO used in making their decision is that we are abating their real property and tangible property taxes. Now, we do that for a very time-limited period.
Yeah, you don't do it forever. They will be on the tax rolls completely at a certain date.
Correct. So they're 100% tax exempt for only the city and the county taxes.
Not any extra taxing districts.
So for the first 10 years, for 5 years, it's 100%. And then they phase in paying their taxes. And year 10, they're paying everything.
Okay.
It does not apply to the school taxes.
Nope.
It does not apply to any voter-approved debt, like the Crosstown Parkway.
Crosstown Parkway, Fire District.
Right,
These
so-
are things you can't waive, so they're
That's
still
correct.
paying those.
They're still paying those. But having that tool resulted in jobs for Port St. Lucie. So we're still kind of working on, all of our message. But the bottom line is, this is high-paying jobs for Port St. Lucie. And I would say, and I've said this from day one, once the city began working with Southern Grove, this is not only the job center for Port St. Lucie, it's a job center for the Treasure Coast region.
For sure.
Because that location, Southern Grove, Jobs Corridor, has the potential for 16,000 jobs. But to have success, we need to continue to have this tool to be able to have a small investment to help attract these industries and businesses.
So I want to kind of go to the heart of this, and why does it matter to the residents? So I'm a resident. I work at the school. I work here in town. But why does this matter? So you think about the fact that when I first moved here, 73% of our people just lived here, and then they went to another county to work. And as they traveled, we lost money. You know, that money didn't stay here in St. Lucie County. They went and got gas in Palm Beach County on their way to Miami, and their payroll tax, all that stuff was in Miami or Broward County. So we weren't losing money. So we were a bedroom community, as they say, which means where are you getting your operating money to sustain 200,000 people with resources, parks, water, sewer, mosquito? Where's that money coming from? It's coming from your property taxes, your individual residential taxes. So as we bring in new jobs and new businesses, they are kind of offsetting the cost to the average resident, if you think about it. And that's evident of some reduction in millage rates by both the county and city in past years on property taxes. And we're seeing an influx of business who are bringing in money. People are staying here. They're not taking their money all the way down to Miami as they go to work and come home every day. So it matters to every resident if we want to maintain the level of resources needed and infrastructure for our residents. It would behoove us to continue to develop targeted industries here in our community for our people to stay and work, and for those industries to get on our tax rolls eventually. And I say eventually because even though it's just the county and the city taxes that can be waived, and I think for the county it's like 30% maybe, and I'm not sure how much it is for the city, how much of their property taxes can be waived, but the majority of it is still paid. You've got mosquito control and South Florida water, that all has to be paid.
Yeah, so if you look at your tax bill, which has all these different line items and entities, it's 4 out of the 20 or so.
Yeah, exactly.
So, and the school taxes, and we all benefit from a robust and effective education system, that's paid 100%.
Yeah.
So it's just a few things. So another thing that's very important about this high-paying jobs referendum is that the jobs have to be over the average wage that's being paid in our community. And our community wage is kind of low.
It is very low.
We're, at least last year, it was around $39,000 per capita. To give you another example, so one of the bigger companies that has committed to come to Port St. Lucie, they'll be in Legacy Park, is Cheney Brothers. Mm-hmm. It's a warehouse distributor for food service industry. They're going to build a 410,000 square foot building in Port St. Lucie. They will have around 400 employees. Their average wage is around $55,000. So here your average in the county is 39. Their average is 55. So that makes a big difference if you're a small business in the city. Those folks are going to have more to spend than the rest of us do.
And it also brings us back to the question we get probably monthly here: where is my Cheesecake Factory and my Costco? And the reality is we don't have a high enough median wage for those companies to find it appetizing. Can't think of the word, but they don't want to come here because we don't make enough money. So every time we raise that minimum salary, we are going to find more and more higher end retailers that are coming here. Because again, you know, for the 3,000th time on the show, retail is the result of economic development, is not economic development. So if we keep raising that median income, we will see some higher end stores, your Trader Joe's, your Costco, all those sorts of things, but not until.
Yeah. So we, as a city, we can't urge you to vote yes.
No.
All we can do as a city is provide information. So we'll be, starting next week, we'll have our website up. That'll give people ideas of, you know, not only, you know, the jobs that are created, but there is spin-off economic impact in the community over these jobs that benefits everybody. And you started out with probably the best analogy. If you have a city that's only funded by housing, we've seen robust gains in the last couple of years, but typically housing is pretty flat. it doesn't go up in value that much. And so as you're looking as a community to grow, to get new roads, you like to see our roads landscaped, all the things that make a great community, then if we want to pay all of that from our housing, it gets oppressive. And we want to try to keep our tax rate affordable. So the best alternative to that is diversify your economy. Have different businesses, have housing of different types, which is our goal as a city, because that is what makes a great place to live. But we have to have that tool.
We do.
In order to be able to compete effectively.
Well, everybody else has it. So if we don't have it, we're not going to be very competitive. But, the other thing that we kind of get here every month, and I don't know if you watched the show, but everybody wants to be the last one in, like shut it off. We have enough residents. We're done. And we explain to them, we have to sustain the resources for our residents. And the residents are going to keep coming because those land rights have already been given. And so we are very, very palatable. That was the word I was looking for earlier, Russ. And for a place to live, we're in Florida, which seems to be very popular now. We're in South Florida. It's warm. We're coastal. So people are coming down here in droves. And those land rights for housing already exist. We can't stop them. And so we therefore can't stop more people from coming. We just have to figure out how to sustain it. And that was done prior to you and I. We're gonna blame GDC for that one.
GDC can be blamed for that.
They can, and we will. So there's nothing we can do about it. Those rights were sold in the 50s for $10 down and $10 a month for 10 years. It's been done.
It's amazing to think how far Port St. Lucie has come.
Yeah.
So when GDC designed Port St. Lucie, and even though we all would call it a city, and certainly a city that had the potential for 80,000 plus homes, you would think it would be a city that would have jobs base, a commercial corridor, that it would have places for schools and hospitals and
retail corridors even.
Retail, everything that you would expect to find in a great city. They didn't include that in their job and in their design. They were designing to sell housing sites, and they were successful. But ever since then, the city and prior councils, managers, and others have been trying to build a great city. I think we're doing a really good job, and have particularly in the last few years made tremendous progress on building our economic base. But we need to keep going.
Yeah, no commercial land was figured into it.
Not at all.
And that was a problem for us. So we're sort of paying catch up. We've got a lot of questions online, and I want to make sure that you get to talk about everything that you wanted to talk about today. So I know we wanted to talk on the tax abatement. I can't say on here what you should do, but I will be able to say offline what you should do with that. Like I said, we need to be competitive, certainly, when we're going after some of these targeted industries. What else do you have on your notes? I'm going to go through these questions and see if we can tackle any of those. And
I want to, if you don't mind, I want to.
No, of course.
The economic development forefront.
Okay.
Because people may not be aware of all the great things that are going on in our city. So if you've been by on I-95, the corner of Midway and I-95, you see this vast expanse. It's over 100 acres.
Yes.
That's been cleared, and you may be wondering what's happening there. Well, what's happening is an Amazon fulfillment center. It is 1,100,000 square feet, 45 feet high. It'll be large items, couches, chairs, canoes. So they'll be distributed all over the southeast. And the plus of that is that's money coming into Port St. Lucie. It's coming in. You talked a little bit earlier about kind of economic theories. You want new money coming in. You don't just want to churn it in your community.
Right.
So this is money that's coming in, a huge investment in our community They'll be providing a minimum of 500 jobs, and those jobs will be significantly above the average wage. They're full benefits, so they have health insurance, life insurance, all the things that you would expect from a good job in your community. This facility will have those, and it's a tremendous investment. We competed for that location.
Yes.
And we're very proud that Amazon chose Port St. Lucie. We're competing for another site with that group.
Yes, we are.
And so that, we're hopeful that very soon there'll be some announcements made on that front. So FedEx is coming up out of the ground. They will be complete before the end of the calendar year. They're in Legacy Park in Southern Grove.
Right, you can see it from 95 too. It's Becker Road and 95.
Yeah, 220,000 square feet. My understanding is they're expecting to hire over time around 500 employees, some of those full-time and some of those part-time. There's another large warehouse distributor that haven't announced it yet. It's a 220,000 square feet building as well. They'll be hiring about 200 full-time employees and around 500 part-time. So, and all of these are jobs with benefits. I mentioned Cheney Brothers earlier. They'll be coming into the city. We expect them to start construction next year. We had right before the pandemic started, we had a business that agreed to come to the city called Excel. They manufacture high-end coated wire for the aerospace and the space industry. And they will be starting construction this year. 150 jobs, 150,000 square feet. They did also receive a tax abatement, was part of their decision package as they were looking at multiple locations and ultimately chose Port St. Lucie. Oculus will be starting construction this year. They're a high-end manufacturer of optical medical equipment.
Right.
And there's a better word for it than that.
I don't know what it is, but it's very scientific.
Yeah, so Oculus started out, they were going to build 50,000 square feet and hire around 50 employees. Now they have decided to close down a facility, relocate a facility that they own in Washington State, and they're going to combine that with the facility here, be 100,000 square feet, and will really be their major North American headquarters. So very positive. So there's lots going on in Port St. Lucie. We certainly see, if you live in a neighborhood, it's hard not to see there's a lot that you've watched as a vacant lot for a long time, and now there's a house on it, and there's another one across the street that's being built.
It's okay to be disappointed by that, but you can't stop it.
Well, you should be happy that people want to invest in the neighborhood where you live.
Well, it's raising your property.
It raises your property value.
Yeah, so I guess that is a good...
And there may be a new neighbor that moves in beside you really like.
Sure. Well, a lot of good news, and that brings us to the other one. We were just rated AA by the rating agency, and what does that mean? What does being a AA city mean?
Oh, it's very good. It is very good news. So, whenever you borrow money as a city or a county, and we should borrow money for some things. If you have infrastructure that's going to last 20 or 30 years. Why would we want the existing residents to pay for that infrastructure that'll benefit the resident that's going to be here in 30 years? It's called intergenerational equity. And so there are some things we should borrow for. And when you borrow, the cost of money, how much you have to pay the person who lends it to you is important.
Right.
So it's how much you pay is set by bond rating agencies. So those bond rating agencies look at you, they determine, are you growing? Do you have a lot of debt? Have you managed your city or county well? So they look at all of these factors and they set, it could be an A or an A minus. Those would be lower debt levels.
Right.
All the way up to a triple A.
I was just going to say a AAA. So
And-
it's like your credit rating.
It's very much like your credit rating.
It's like a 750, which is pretty
Yeah.
good, right?
So we're now a double A. The next one up would be a triple A.
Yep.
And why did we get that? We have substantially reduced our debt. We have shown as a city that we have increased our reserves. We are well managed as a city. The city council has done a phenomenal job of guiding the city by its strategic plan. And the bond rating agencies looked at that, and they, over the last two different issues, each time our rating has gone up. So we're very pleased to have that double A rating. It meant that our rates are very, very competitive. We just sold and finalized a bond issue that will build a new public works building, a police training facility, and provide funding for the Tradition Regional Park and the Torino Regional Park.
Yes, that
Those are
Torino
big
Regional
deals.
Park is the big deal.
Big deals. So the effective interest rate over a 30-year term is 2.66%.
Very good.
And that is very, very good. It's not quite as cheap as Srita's car loan,
No.
but it's
Did
pretty
you
good.
ask? Did you ask Srita what you could get from Mid-Florida? But yes, it's all very government related. But it's like your credit rating, and it
Right.
means we're doing much, much better.
And I appreciate that question because it really is very important.
So City Center I've been doing this show for 10 years. It's always been on the docket. So, but we have movement because I believe you have settled back taxes in order to make that property more palatable to investors.
So City Center is probably the most complex problem that I've worked on as a local government manager, and I've been doing it a while.
Yeah, it has everything, greed, fraud.
It would be a great book.
It would be.
It's pretty interesting, but the property has been held by a receiver representing the Federal Securities and Exchange Commission.
Yes.
And so that receiver, who's held the property now for almost 7 years, has been wanting to sell it so that those folks who were swindled by Lily Zong, the prior owner,
Yep.
could be reimbursed. So we worked with the receiver very closely because our goal has been to get that property back into the private sector.
Right.
Let the private sector do what it does best. It's in creating wealth and helping to make this property really be something special for our community. We've met with, on behalf of the receiver and for the receiver, multiple potential developers, and nobody was ever able to make it work, including 2 national developers that do comprehensive multi-use developments that sounded wonderful, and they were very good at their jobs. I got to know both of them well.
Oh, good.
And what we found is there's no way the city center was ever going to be developed by the private sector.
No.
So working with the receiver, we talked to the receiver, and we arrived at a price, which is it's a token price, really, that the city would pay to the receiver to own the city center. Then we can reimagine it, update our master plan, start looking at what properties should be sold, what properties are appropriate to maybe be maintained by the city as part of our public realm. And so as we went to start closing on that, what we found is there's a kind of a law that we've never really talked about or thought about, that Chris Kraft, our tax collector, said, that no, you don't have to pay taxes, city, but the receiver technically has to satisfy all the outstanding taxes.
Yep.
Well, there's $47 million worth of outstanding taxes. And so was not going to happen. The receiver was not going to have that done, and neither would anybody else.
No, because they've been charged with doing that. It wouldn't leave any money for the people that had been swindled. All the money would go to back
Well,
taxes.
actually, the SEC would have had to bring money to the table.
So you pay that, yeah.
Yeah, they're not going to do that.
And we have 22 taxing entities.
Yes, and so we said, well, we can fix that. We're going to work together and do it. So the city staff, helped by the tax collector, we met with each of the taxing entities in the city. We have worked out agreements with them in exchange for releasing their claims. When we close, we'll do different things. Yeah, and that are of benefit to each taxing authority. And so there's 6 major taxing authority plus, another 19 that are smaller, like the Mosquito Control District and FIND. And so we've worked all of those out. We also had to work out with the tax certificate purchasers. These are businesses, sometimes individuals, but businesses, they buy delinquent taxes because they can charge a very high level of interest on that. But that's why you have this very, very large outstanding debt, because that interest has been going for 7 years. So we worked with the tax certificate holders. We found a way. We are trading them some odd and end city parcels to satisfy their commitment, that is then allowing us to go forward to the receiver and close the transaction. We're working on the final paperwork right now. All of the business terms are done.
Good.
So sometime within the next, 60 days at the most, we will be the owner of City Center. Then we'll put it back on the market with the idea of let it be the great place that it was envisioned. And it will be, because it's in the heart of our city.
I think that it was, again, there's been a couple times where the city was sort of backed into a corner on what was the best course of action, and Southern Grove was one of them. When CORE walked away from that, I don't think you had a choice. You had to take that over so you could parcel that out and do some economic development. I think the same here. At City Center, you really needed to figure out a way. It was just going to sit there in perpetuity until you could get it down to make it fiscally, attractive to an investor to come in there. And we just weren't able to do that with all this back taxes and the deeds, the warranty deed sales, which is funny. Our clerk of courts just left, and I wanted to thank her for being with us today. When is the new Sprouts in St. Lucie West scheduled to open? People get so excited about.
Yeah, so they're definitely open. I can't tell you the exact date, but they're in our building department now for permit review.
Yeah. So I always tell people, when they have something in for site plan or in permitting, or they're in the process, I will get excited. Not until, because we've seen things come and go. Lucky's, I think, was one of them, maybe, and
Yes.
and the Checkers on Gatlin was a big mess for a while. So if they're in site plan, that means you are going to have a Sprouts more than
Starting to
likely.
get real.
Yeah.
And they put the sign up right there.
They did say Sprouts is coming. So we're going to get that question, just so you know, until Sprouts is here.
All right. Yeah. Well, we'll try to get some more definitive information.
I wish they would put that on the sign.
We'll put it on. Yeah, we'll put it on our website.
Okay, yeah. You do have that. I always want to tell people at the City of Port St. Lucie, if you go to the Planning and Zoning Department, under Departments, you have something called Coming Soon, and that is so user-friendly for the layman to find out what is coming to wherever property they're looking at. You can do it by map. You could do it by project name. Sometimes our retailers don't use their real names when they're developing new sites, but it's still very helpful. I love that tool.
Yeah.
It's a very good tool.
Yeah, we do our best to try to let people know what's going to be happening around them, because people care about that.
Absolutely.
Whether they see a building coming up, it's a frequent question: what's going to go in there?
I can't tell you how many times a day I'm asked that question. And usually by my husband on the weekend, when I turn my brain off and I no longer remember. We'll drive any empty lot. What's going there? I can't. Go to the website. Coming soon. What else do we want to tackle today? And then we'll see if we have any questions.
It isn't, so one of the items that, a lot of things are transitory, and I do believe that the next one I'm going to bring up is a transitory problem. It'll get worked out. It's just painful while we're working on it. So it's Waste Pro. So the city doesn't collect our own solid waste, our own recycling, or our own vegetative waste. And we're like most cities and counties in the nation now.
Yeah.
There are several private companies that do that. Historically, they've done it well. And they do it actually a little less expensively usually than if the city or a county
Hired all those people.
or to
and
hire
make
those people, borrow the money to buy all those trucks and deliver it.
Yeah.
That service. So, and historically, we've had good service from Waste Pro. They've been the ideal service, which is out of sight, out of mind.
Yes.
Yeah, and we talked about that a little earlier. For city government, we really want our services to be out of sight, out of mind. We don't want we don't want it to be a topic of conversation. But Waste Pro has become a topic of conversation. So there are several factors. One is I think maybe they didn't anticipate our rate of growth quite as much as they should have. And then the pandemic hit. And that made it harder to get employees. And in addition to just being harder, the wage rate for folks who make in that $10 to $20 an hour range has become very competitive. And so we see it everywhere you go. You see help wanted signs. And so employers are having to be much more competitive than they're used to. And so as a result of that, Waste Pro as good a company as they may be, they've fallen behind in delivering our services. We've met with the chief operating officer. He has been here in this room. It's a national company. It's, again, that out of sight, out of mind is blown to heck when you have to come to Port St. Lucie.
Yes. And he services, how many? Hundreds of cities.
Yes, that's exactly right. And so he provided himself an improvement plan that goes through December, January with all the different things that Waste Pro is going to be doing. It's not something that can be done in a blink of an eye. So just like you're reading that Chevrolet has stopped production of new vehicles because of the chip shortage until they can catch up, and Ford has done the same, and other companies that are reliant on computer chips. Well, if you think about a big garbage truck, if you want to buy a new one, there's multiple chips in there. So they're getting back to equilibrium where they're servicing our routes every day like they're supposed to. It doesn't bleed over to the next day before your garbage gets picked up, or your vegetative waste doesn't get picked up at all.
Right.
It's going to be a little while because they're ordering trucks. They have raised their wage rates. They are hiring new people. I think there's 20 new people in their queue right now. So I don't want to make excuses for them, but I do want people to know that it's going to take a little while, and we hope that people will be just a little bit patient. But what we've done, because we're not patient, we have actually reassigned some of our public works staff to go out and pick up yard waste. And we have 15 city crews out on the streets of the city today picking up yard waste. Now, why do we pick that? Because we're equipped, we have
You have the ability
trucks,
to do that and
we have
process that.
Yeah, we have the ability to do that. I was out Tuesday riding over big swaths of the city, and it looks much better. And we're going to keep picking up yard waste until Waste Pro gets their trucks back and gets more people on the street, which will then start the crisis going away. And so, but we are communicating, trying to let folks in our community know what we're doing and what Waste Pro is doing. And we're holding Waste Pro accountable. We do have fines that we are fining them. But bottom line is that doesn't solve the problem.
No.
So we're saying we're going to solve the problem in the interim to the best of our ability. And Waste Pro has given us a plan to get back to their service level.
So this is a national problem of waste collection. I think Waste Pro could probably tell you that firsthand, I'm sure. But a lot of it stems from the shortage of workers during COVID and the fact that a lot of them were receiving more on unemployment than they typically did when they were working. So it wasn't attractive to go back to work. And now that they are going back to work, they're expecting that same wage. And so that's a big jump for a lot of these services, these service jobs. So they're having a hard time with that. I know that everybody is kind of coming together on waste collection. I think that we have been spoiled by Waste Pro. There's contracts, there's pieces of that tell you how you have to dispose of your waste, what waste they'll pick up, when they'll pick it up. But they've been spoiling us for so long and picking up everything and anything whenever they saw it. And so we expect that level of service. So I know that it must be tough for the both of you to get in there and try to figure this out. And I know that residents want to hold everybody accountable. And I think that everybody is accountable, but holding everybody accountable until we figure out a solution doesn't really matter. And so I kind of get that. I feel bad for both of you. It's a crappy situation.
So one of the pieces of the solution to this problem is really our citizens' expectations. Mm-hmm. So the city council has agreed to establish a solid waste task force. We're looking for people who want to serve on that task force. It'll be 9 members plus 2 alternates, so pretty big task force. And we are going to be challenging that task force. One is to learn and understand about what services we do provide, but then to give us recommendations. Are there any changes that would help to ensure we get service that ought to be made in the current contract? And then helping us craft a new level of service going forward. We have a 5-year contract left with the Waste Pro, but we need to be thinking about are there some tweaks now, and what is our level of service that citizens should expect as we go forward. And so really expecting and hoping that this task force will help guide us into the future on solid waste. And you mentioned some expectations. So first, Waste Pro's been pretty good. It didn't matter what their contract said. If it got out on the curb, they picked it up. And our contract doesn't have limits in it. So if you have a contractor and they're gutting your house, even though you're not supposed to put all that stuff out on the curb, a lot of times that happened and continues to happen. Well, if you think about it, if you're the garbage truck driver, they have a driver and a helper, and they're going down the street and they encounter the yard next to you that's 80 foot long, 4 feet high, and 8 feet wide of stuff, whatever it may be. It could be couches, it could be cabinets. They're going to have to stop. They may have to call in somebody else to come help them pick all that up, put it in the compactor. You probably spent an hour. Well, in that hour, they should be serving probably 40 people. Instead, 1 got service.
Yeah.
And so that's the kind of stuff that's really, it is hurting. They bid on that, and they knew it. But I think with the pandemic, it's become very painful that level of service isn't sustainable.
Yeah.
And so that's what we want to talk about. This task force has an 18-month job.
Okay.
So it's not forever. And we really want people in our community to step up and say, hey, this is what I've seen in other places. We want a few of the people to actually be folks who've worked in solid waste.
Nice.
and to give us that feedback. What is it that we should expect?
I think you should have some people that are on the ground level of solid waste kind of weighing in on that and what holds them up. That sounds like a great idea. So if they're interested in being tasked with trash, what should they do?
So on the city's website, under the clerk, there's a whole area in the drop-down menus for folks who are interested in applying. There's applications online. You fill it out. Your application will be considered and provided to the mayor, in this case, Mayor-elect Martin, for another few days.
I was going to say Monday she gets sworn in.
Right. She'll make the appointments from the people who express interest, affirmed by the city council.
Good. I like it. Good. So go cityofpsl.com. Cityofpsl.com.
Yes.
I believe is the website. Very good. I think we handled most of those questions. Do we have any questions from the audience? Wow. Okay. We have a nice audience though today. There's a smattering of faces out there, which is always very nice. Did you want to cover anything else before we head out? I think we've been on for about an hour.
So I've seen a couple of questions about the mobility fee. The city of Port St. Lucie is adopting a mobility plan and mobility fee that is charged to new development only. It's not a tax.
Right.
It's to offset the impact and mitigate the impact of new development on the transportation infrastructure in the city. So it's a new paradigm. So the city used to charge impact fees, and effective next, I think maybe the 5th now, we won't be charging impact fees for roadways. We'll be charging the mobility fee. And the advantage of the mobility fee is that it provides, the funding can be used not only for lane miles of building roads, it can also be used for sidewalks, for a bus turnout lane so if you've ever been on a 2-lane road and the bus is there and you're like, I got to get somewhere, and there's people appropriately getting on and off the bus, you can build a bus turnout lane. So you're adding capacity to the system, not just for roads, but for other ways that people get around. They walk, they ride their bicycle. If you're out in tradition now, you might ride beep. And so
you have a lot of time on your hands. You might ride beep.
Patience is a virtue.
That I was not blessed with. Yes.
So this gives options for us to address transportation issues for the community in a lot of different ways.
Yes.
When we do our citizen survey every year, that is one of the highest issues that our citizens say we need more and different options for transportation.
Yeah, sidewalks have been an issue since GDC built this place.
Without sidewalks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it gives you some more leeway on what to do with those funds. Instead of just building capacity, you can do alternative modes of transportation.
And if you think about it as a community like Port St. Lucie, where we have a network of roads already, without having severe impacts on neighborhoods, it's hard to build a lot more lanes.
Yeah.
But it's not too hard to get a sidewalk in or a multi-purpose path.
Very good. All right. So we addressed mobility fees now too.
Yes.
Have we gone through everything on the list on the official pad?
On my list, I had Amazon, we got that.
Yep.
Waste Pro, we got that. Economic development, we got that in spades.
Yes.
Lots going on.
Tax abatement, we got that.
Tax abatement. And so we would encourage voters to read, understand, ask questions about the high wage jobs for Port St. Lucie referendum in December.
Did you just name that now, or was that talked about beforehand? But I love that name. It's the high wage job referendum. Very good. We got that for December. So in December, you're going to cast your vote for District 3 and the high wage job
and
referendum.
Just one last thing.
Okay.
So Mayor-elect Martin will become Mayor Martin at 5 p.m. on the 27th of September, next Monday, right here in City Hall. There'll be a reception at 5 p.m. right after swearing in and a little bit before and after. It's open to the public.
Yeah, I will definitely be there. Congratulations to her.
Yes.
Very excited. All right. Well, with that, I again want to thank Mid-Florida Credit Union for sponsoring today. And you, Russ, I really enjoyed having you on here. You did spur lots of questions, which I also very much enjoy. So thank you to you and your staff for doing this every month. And thanks to everybody for watching on Facebook. You can see us on YouTube. You can see us on your Roku, your Fire Stick, AT&T, and Comcast, and Hometown Cable, if I'm not mistaken. So check us out where you can. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Have a great day.